lot of conversations here at the American Angus Association annual convention in Kansas City, Missouri, talking about all things in the beef industry. And of course, a lot of folks are focused on what exactly the bull market will be here this fall and moving into 2026. And joining us here today is Regional Manager for the American Angus Association, Mr. Kurt Kangas. And Kurt, it's been a phenomenal year for cow-calf producers in the countryside. Shipping season is well underway. Checks are coming into these bank accounts, and folks are looking at so many different opportunities, whether it's settling up debt and looking towards the future, expanding, or whatever it may be that fits their situation. What's it been like having conversations with both commercial producers and seed stock producers here in the fall of 2025?
Well, it's been just, obviously the summer video run was incredible, and talking to folks there at the video sales and after their calves are selling and, life-changing money. It boggled my mind when I went back and broke down the data for Nordlund and how much more money these guys were getting than last year. And I think we all knew it was going to be higher. I don't think we anticipated anything like September when it just got really high. And even with the markets coming down now a little bit, they're still as high as September, which is still going to be the best checks these guys have ever seen for their calves. So, we got real fortunate this year. Obviously, good, decent grass for most of the state. Calves are weaning. Sounds like they're coming off cows heavy. And I think producers are super, super happy, and that there's a lot of excitement in the air. And I think there's a lot of optimism going into next sales season.
Well, and for so many commercial producers, my family included, we were expecting a very, very dry summer.
Yeah.
We contracted the steers early, and then all that beneficial rain came this summer.
Yeah.
And we had pastures that looked like it was the middle of May at the end of July.
Yeah, the calves are getting ready to leave.
And again, we were about 45, 50 pounds heavy on the steers, which that's great news, like you said. And again, we should mention last week we did see those prices on the board come down, and that did trickle down into these markets a little bit, but that news that the border will remain closed as of this conversation to imports from Mexico kind of help re-support that. So obviously, we'll talk a lot more in other conversations about the market fundamentals, but what are we looking at in terms of what these cow prices are going to be and what these bull prices are going to be? Because I've had a lot of conversations with guys like, I got to buy 25, 30, 40 bulls, because a lot of folks have sold their bulls because they are so expensive in the ring right now. What is that trend? What are we looking at here this fall?
So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, without a crystal ball, we just don't know. But, California's finished their fall run up, and they were up roughly 16% from last year. And so I'd anticipate that bulls will be up roughly 16%, because we tend, in the fall in particular, we tend to follow along with California trends pretty tightly. Going into the spring sale season, I think we'll see probably maintain that 16%. And I've kind of figured it that I'm guessing last year we averaged right around 8,300. This year I'm going to guess that the bulls are going to average right around 93 to 95. And what's interesting about that is if you go off of a 600-pound feeder calf, these bulls at that price will be the cheapest bulls people have bought in 20 years. Cost the least amount of 600-pound calves. That traditionally the average is, the lesson we all learn in college is 5 to pay for a bull. And we got up in the, 8-9 years ago where we were up 7 to 8 bulls or steers to pay for a bull. And this year we're going to be at 3.9 if we hit that average. So when people see commercial guys buying bulls for 13,000, that's 5 steers. So I don't think it's going to be uncommon to see those kind of averages. It won't be unexpected, but I think it'll be a high market to be sure.
What are the conversations like with producers, seed stock producers in Montana and Wyoming right now? Obviously, that great moisture this summer. What are these bull lots looking like? What are the conversations you're having? What are these folks really excited about in terms of the quality of their cattle right now that are going to be up on the auction block? But also some conversations they're having with their commercial producers about the importance of keeping registered genetics in their herd and really improving their herds while our levels are still low and people are thinking about rebuilding.
Yeah. The conversations, I'll say this right off, this fall moisture we've had has been probably the brightest spot for everybody. That, last year we were so dry going into the winter that there was a lot of nervousness. And then we go through April and we still don't have any rain. And I think people were pretty nervous about what was going to happen. This year with the fall moisture we've had, there should be a ton of optimism with the registered guys and the commercial guys. And like you said, that the slaughter bull market's so high that people have traded in a lot of bulls, and why wouldn't you? Makes a lot of sense. So, conversations on, making genetic improvement in, Montana and Wyoming have a very broad range of kind of genetics that we offer. You can find dang near every single, if you want a maternal side, you get maternal. If you want terminal, you got terminal. And that's the beauty of the breed in general, is that we cover a lot of the bases. And so, every program's different. Everybody's grazing needs are different. So, just depends on who you talk to, what they're looking for. People are looking for those, whatever you offer, they're fresher genetics and offering some diversity from what you've had the last couple of years, particularly as people start to retain heifers. You're going to need to keep in mind that those heifer bulls that you may have been using for 2-3 years, you're probably going to need to have something coming along that's just a freckle different for those guys so they can breed those heifers back successfully.
Well, again, a lot of conversations. There's a lot of excitement in the cattle business. Last week, I think some of that excitement came down just a notch or two, but folks understand there is opportunity
Yeah,
in the livestock
yeah,
business. And of course, all those conversations happening here this week in KC.
yeah. Well, and you talk to the auction market owners in Montana, and they'll all tell you that, I mean, yeah, the prices came down, but those prices still, they're chugging along at a pretty good clip right now. And kudos to the buyers. I mean, really, it's just been absolutely impressive from the buyers that have bought those feeder cattle. Really just stepped up this year. It's been cool.
Well, again, I think one of the key things you mentioned, 3.9 calves to pay for a bull
Yep.
this year. I think that's something we need to really highlight and look at. And of course, for all of our friends that are joining us here today, make sure and look towards opportunities and when you're rebuilding your herds, and of course, working with those seed stock producers in the countryside, great way to do that.
Yeah, it's a great way to do that. And, people buy people.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we got some of the best people.
Well, again, Kurt Kangas, thanks for joining us here today, and we are going to have more of our conversations right here on the Western Ag Network and the Linecast Ag Podcast from the Angus Convention here in KC.
Go Bobcats.
Yeah, go Bobcats.